my goodness. Can you believe it? It's the red hot underdogs again. And I am here. I am AnzaK. Drew is here. He is Drewy. And we are the red hot underdogs. And he is the long contained, ever incredible long contained, often imitated, never duplicated. I must be tired because I've said that 51 times before. Drewy.
Hey, buddy. Hey, big guy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast that is always a knockout in our own imagination.
It is a knockout. And speaking of knockouts, knockout Jai Opetaia, who I'm sure that's going to dominate this episode. Um, so yeah, let's get cracking. Starting at how how was Jai before this fight? How was the hype? How was the media leading up to this? Who was he fighting? Who is Jai Opetaia?
Jai Opetaia is Australia's greatest boxer at the present time. He's our number one
Yep.
premier boxer. I was saying this long before Tszyu's first loss. Other
Mm.
people sometimes questioned me on it because they're like, it's Tszyu. I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand.
No, you did. You
Just
said
because
it
some
here.
guys,
You said it
yeah,
on Red Hot Underdogs. You said,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
just because some guys got the name doesn't mean that he's the best or has great lineage as far as a awesome father and a legendary father was
yep,
concerned. Not putting
yep,
down Tszyu, but he was the poster boy for the longest time for Australian boxing.
yep,
But coming through right now, absolutely, and you can't deny his recent achievements is
yep.
Mr. Jai Opetaia,
Jai
the
Opetaia.
IBF
Yep,
cruiserweight champion
yep, yep.
and owner of the ring belt for what that's worth too.
Yep. And just to go over, how many down is cruiserweight under heavyweight?
So it's largely seen as the division one below
Ah,
heavyweight.
what do you mean largely seen? What people can,
Well, I know I can explain that
yeah.
because there has been a division that has been installed in the last 3 years called bridgerweight.
Oh,
Although literally nobody is in bridgerweight.
oh,
Most hardcore boxers can't tell you the champion of bridgerweight,
mm,
and absolutely nobody watches bridgerweight.
oh.
So when I say largely, if you're going to move up from cruiserweight, you'll generally just go up to heavyweight from cruiserweight and
What,
skip
what's
bridge.
what's the physical difference between cruiserweight and heavyweight? I know heavyweight has no limit. You can't be too heavy
Yes.
for heavyweight,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
cruiserweight does have a range. What is it?
Yeah, so I would say that there's probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 to 7 kilos between the end of cruiserweight and where heavyweight begins.
Okay, yep, yep, yep.
So it's although that doesn't seem a big difference, it's a fair difference in
Yeah,
size in terms of size and power. But these guys will put on 6, 7 kilos easily. They
yeah,
just will.
yeah.
But as far as last night was concerned, it
Yeah,
went a
Jai, yep,
huge way
yep,
to actually solidifying a unification bout down the track for Jai
yep,
Opetaia
yes, yep.
to
So he's
potentially
got
get all the
one of
cruiserweight belt.
he's got one of the four belts, and
Yes.
the next fight, like because he won that. Well, I know we haven't even talked about the fight yet, and we're already talking about the next fight, but because Jai Opetaia defended and won and still holds on to his one belt, so there will be a what do you call that?
Yeah, there'll be a
Session.
fight
Yeah.
against Gilberto Ramirez, or
Okay.
otherwise known as Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, as
Oh,
his
yep.
ring name is. Zurdo being the translation of lefty in
Oh.
Spanish.
Where's he
Is an,
from? Where's he from?
so I believe he's a Mexican,
Oh, okay.
Gilberto Ramirez,
Yep.
and a lot of people think that Jai Opetaia just has to fight Ramirez to collect all the belts, but that's actually not true. There is another belt holder called Badu Jack who has the WBC belt. Gilberto Ramirez has the WBO and WBA
Ah,
belts, and Opetaia has the IBF belt.
so there's three people that have four belts.
Yes, but the fight
Ah,
everyone is clamoring for is Ramirez and Opetaia, and Badu Jack is largely seen as, I won't say a soft touch, because you're not completely soft if you get a belt, but
got it.
he's
Yeah.
not the fight they want to see, and he's very beatable for both Ramirez and for Opetaia.
Oh, look, who cares really who Jai fights next, as long as
Yeah.
it's for a belt, That's
Yeah,
fine.
the money fight though would be Ramirez.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know if Ramirez is going to come up and have a mandatory soon. There are a number of ways that Opetaia might go. See, Badu Jack is aged 41 and he's got a record of 28, 3 and 3. So he's highly beatable.
Yeah.
And he last fought in February 2023.
Oh
So
God. Yeah.
there could be an opportunity for Opetaia to then go and beat Badu Jack, collect the WBC belt, and then retain his IBF belt. And
Where's Badu Jack from? Where's Badu Jack from?
he's Swedish,
Okay, yeah.
but he's a black Swede.
Oh yeah, there's
Not
plenty of
being
those.
racist,
No,
but there
no,
are
no,
a few of those.
there's plenty of black Swedes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and so that could be a way to go, but
yeah.
the fight that most people are clamoring for will be Ramirez and Opetaia. And the good news for Opetaia is if he does end up clearing out the cruiserweight division, which should be his first mission,
Yeah.
there is a great expectation that he will move up to heavyweight.
Yep. Great. Okay. And look, let's talk about the fight. But actually,
Absolutely.
before we talk about the fight, you know,
Yes.
his pre-fight interview, him sitting
Yeah.
there wearing a bucket hat.
Yeah. Well, he's a big fan of fishing outside the ring, would you
Oh, is
believe?
he? Is he really? Or are you just saying
You're-
that because that's
No,
what?
if you're a big fan of fishing, then you're
Yeah.
probably a big fan of the bucket hat.
Well, that is true. That is true. Yeah, yeah. Or or you're in kindergarten because if you're in kindergarten, there's lots of bucket hats. But
Absolutely.
he's not in kindergarten. Well, he probably was, but.
Yeah, and it was a pretty good bucket hat. You could probably swoop that into the water and collect a couple of fish if his
Yeah,
rod isn't doing the
his fishing
trick.
hat. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so when he's not
Absolutely.
fishing, he's fighting fights
Yes.
and uh you know, it was about to start. I
Mm.
was with you. It got to 11 past 11. Like, it's late and it's
Yeah.
Wednesday night. What's
Yes.
going on there? Like who's in charge of deciding, oh, this is not worthy of a Saturday night at 8 p.m. Let's put this on a Wednesday at 11:30 when people have to get up early. Who decides that?
I've got an enormous problem with this. I think Australian boxing in general, the
Hmm.
commissions that run the Australian boxing don't have a large amount of confidence in their product as a
Yeah.
sport. If I was them, I would gamble on trying it on a Sunday afternoon or
Yeah.
a Saturday night.
Yeah.
But I think that they fear that there's too much competition from other sports like rugby league, AFL, and
Not
cricket. But
not
there's
this week.
nothing happening this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, there's a big bash, you
And
know?
the Big Bash would have been the perfect time for them to try it.
Perfect. Yeah.
But you know what? My theory is you may as well throw a gamble and risk taking a bit of a loss, because although this generates money during the weekday, it doesn't generate as much as what it could potentially down the track if you ran that gamble.
Yeah.
To me, it's just spinning your tires in the mud, because there are a lot of people that would love to watch the fight, but guess what? They don't have the time to stay up for the main event at 11 o'clock at night because they've got work the next
Yeah, on
morning,
a Wednesday. And it's so
myself
much more
included.
marketable on a Saturday night. Everything is.
Absolutely. And
Everything.
it's driven me crazy for years.
Yeah.
And it's been the same situation for years. Boxing Australia, please do better. Try the gamble. Try it on Sunday
Yeah.
evening. try it Sunday afternoon, try it Saturday evening or Saturday night.
Yeah.
They did it recently, not so long ago, for a Tim Tszyu fight before he
Yep.
lost.
Yep.
He fought Tony Harrison in Sydney,
Yep.
and it was on a Sunday afternoon. It was a
Perfect.
raving success.
Yeah.
They could
Yeah.
have just done that.
Yep. Yep.
And
Okay.
I think that somebody like Jai Opetaia deserves that sort of reception because he's too good a product to be hidden on a Wednesday night
Yeah, exactly.
at
But
11 o'clock.
let's move on.
Mm.
Three anthems and then welcome to country, you know, like, is that overkill? Like seriously, we're just sitting there, oh God, another one. And two of those anthems were in two different languages. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I'm actually going to correct you on that. I
Oh,
actually believe it's five different anthems, would you believe? Now, hear me out on this. I'll tell you why. You've got the Australian anthem, but then you've got the Australian anthem sung in Aboriginal.
yeah, yeah,
You've
yeah,
got the New Zealand anthem,
yeah,
but then you've got the New Zealand anthem sung in Maori.
yeah.
And then to throw another one into the kicker, because Jai Opetaia comes from Samoan heritage,
Yep,
they
Samoan.
threw in the Samoan anthem.
Why
And
didn't
then
they? And that was in
just
Samoa.
to, just to just to give us the ultimate kick in the nuts, welcome to country.
Welcome to not your country. You're not welcome. But
So we,
listen,
we got five anthems and a welcome to country.
why didn't they do the Samoan anthem in English?
Mate, okay, there's gonna be a few butt hurt people that might go into meltdown over this. I don't even want the Samoan anthem. I get it that it's his heritage, but please hear me out on this one. We've got a
Yeah,
Wednesday night. We've got people at work the next day.
yeah,
You're trotting out five anthems. How
yeah,
about we just keep it to the New Zealand anthem sung in English? We keep it to the Australian anthem sung in English. You can walk in with your Samoan flag and your
yeah,
Aussie
yeah.
flag, and you can have some Samoan people in their dress and their regalia and whatever they wear,
The big
walking in with
necklace,
you.
the big necklaces.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And just have the two anthems. We don't need to trot out five anthems
yeah.
and the extra kick in the nuts with a welcome to Australia.
Well, everybody has heritage from somewhere. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So where does
yeah.
it stop? Does that mean
Oh no,
boxer is
that
going to have where they were born, where their parents were born,
yeah, yeah,
where their grandparents were born? Like, where does it stop? In
that's
25
exactly right.
years
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
you're going to have
yeah,
nine anthems playing in
yeah.
10 different languages. It's
You're right. It opens up a Pandora's box. I mean, what do you do next? Do you do a Maori LGBTQ one because then they feel left out? Do you do an
exactly.
Australian LGBTQ one? Do you do a New Zealand mental health one, an Australian mental health one? And
Yeah,
it just
I
keeps
need some
going.
mental
Everyone
health, I
starts
tell you.
feeling left out, you
Give
know?
me some of that mental health. Wait, no, listen. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so
Oh, just,
let's
just
move
say
on.
one more thing.
Yeah,
Two anthems, and let's just throw a dusty old welcome to Australia,
welcome to
throw
Australia.
on in
You're
just
all
to the mix.
welcome. They're
We'll
all
appease
welcome here.
everyone.
Welcome
There
to
we
the
go.
Hot Underdogs. Now, listen.
Correct.
Um, so the pre-fight,
Mm,
just to change the boxer and stuff was our old mate Hooney, and I didn't
yeah.
even know that Hooney was fighting. Heavyweight Australian, haven't seen him for years. Fought Gallen, didn't go to the Olympics. Um, and what was he an undercard or what was the
Yeah, he
word?
was on the undercard. Listen,
Undercard, but they you said something. It was a co main event or something. Is that right?
yeah, it's the co-feature. Listen,
Co-feature. They called it.
just
I didn't know it was a co-feature. Yeah.
something like that. But it was on the undercard. But
Yeah.
poor old Justice Herney has been trying to cough and splutter and get his career together.
Yeah.
I wish him luck. Of course,
Yep.
he's Aussie. I want him to do
Yep.
well.
Yep.
He's 12 wins, zero losses.
Yep.
He got rid of South African Sean Potgieter in the second round. Potgieter now goes to 10 wins and two losses. But if I'm perfectly frank with you,
Yeah.
Mr. Potgieter looked like he just walks straight, fresh out of a pancake house and still had three pancakes in his hand and a jug full of maple syrup. The man's
Pot
body
belly.
shape not fit
Yeah.
for purpose on that
Pot
night.
pot belly. He had the pot belly. That's
Yeah,
his
not Potgieter, pot belly.
pot belly. Pot belly rocked up. Yeah, it was a waste of time watching that. Nobody. It
Yeah.
was a waste for all boxers and all spectators and all commentators that had to sit there and ramble on how good it was what we watched, which was just garbage. None of them were like, this is bollocks. Watching an old potbelly, he had the tattoos, but even the tattoos look,
Look
faded.
saggy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
faded
yeah.
and sagged, and
Mm.
it was, it's ridiculous. No one says that though, you know.
No, no,
One
because
says,
they're all howling for a meal, and all the
"Oh wow,
commentators
look at
have
who
their
he's
own
so
sort
good.
of.
Look who he's fighting. He's fighting
Yeah, I know, I know.
like Monty Burns tattooed up. Monty
Yeah.
Burns, Sons of Anarchy. It was embarrassing, honestly.
Oh, mate, but it was a pretty fat Monty Burns. The
Yeah,
less said about that fight, the better.
yeah.
To
Let's move
be
on.
honest, it
Yeah.
was insulting to our
But
intelligence,
I
and
am looking forward to another Hoonie fight, and
yes.
he's ready to headline his own as long as he's not fighting these fucking mugs anymore, you know?
If I was to say anything, the only true present and gift that it did give us was to get to the main event in
Yeah,
quicker time.
big time.
But
Yeah.
we should get onto the main event
Yeah, it's
now,
like us. Let's get on to the main event. We're
and we
faffing
can
around more than this fight faffed around. Yeah.
we can talk about the other
Okay.
issues afterwards if there are any, if we got time. But as
Yeah.
far as the main fight
Yep.
was concerned, so David Nyika was a
His
pretty
opponent.
he was a pretty respectable opponent. I mean, he
Yep.
came in at 10 wins and 0 losses with 9 knockouts. Pretty
Looked
good.
great. He looked really good. Yeah.
Has an Olympic bronze medal to his credit, so
Yep.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he actually surprised me because
Yep.
in the pre-fight interviews and press conference, he said he was going to come out, he was going to fight
Yeah.
fire with Joe
Yeah.
Opetaia, which is never a good idea.
Yeah. Yep.
But the first 2 rounds, he sort of really held his own.
Oh yeah, he did not hold back. Neither of them held back. There were some haymakers, just like
Yeah,
that would have ended it then and there. Um,
yeah. So
huge hits ducked and missed, and yeah,
yeah,
huge
yeah.
punch.
But
It
it
was
was
edge
great.
of your seat, like edge of your seat, eyes glued to the screen, boxing.
It was a great all action fight. It wasn't one for the purists, but
Yeah,
it was one if you like that fighting in a phone box action,
yeah.
toe to toe, bang,
Yep.
bang, bang, fighting in a phone box, rock'em
Entertainment.
sock'em
It was
robots.
entertainment. It was Saturday
And
night. It
yeah,
wasn't Wednesday night. It was Saturday night. That's what it
it,
was. Saturday
it was
night.
awesome.
Yeah.
And we even said during it while we were watching it,
Yeah.
this fight is not going the distance.
No way.
Somebody is getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
let me tell you, in my heart of hearts, I
Yeah.
always believed it was going to be David Nyika.
Yeah.
However, we at the Red Hot Underdogs and at Red Hot Underdogs industry are
Yeah.
very renowned for giving a jinx to people and
Yeah.
to sportsmen and to
Everyone.
teams.
We've
So
jinxed
I didn't
everyone.
want to
Yeah.
say that it was going to be Nyika that was going to get pancaked, just in case I jinxed it. But I always felt that was going to be the case
Yeah.
because in the first 3 rounds, for the record, it was a knockout in the fourth round, but for the
Yep.
first 3 rounds,
Yep.
there was high volume from David Nyika. There
Yeah.
was high volume from Jai Opetaia, but I just thought that Jai Opetaia had the more powerful and cleaner shots,
Yep.
the more powerful and cleaner work
Yep.
throughout the course of those first 3 rounds. I thought that was going to be the telling factor, and in the end, it was.
Yep. Yep. It was. And do you think we haven't even talked about his nickname,
Yes.
his nickname? Well, I'm not talking
David, the nice guy, Nyika.
nice guy. Yeah.
Now,
And you
yeah.
told me that this is the weakest um ringside name in what did you say, weakest, or what did you
Yeah,
say?
I
In
think I
unintimidating.
did.
Said.
Most unintimidating
Yeah, yeah.
ring name I've ever heard. It really doesn't instill any form of fear in you. And
But it grows on you. It really grows on you. And he had it on his back. The nice guy.
yeah, I know. And I don't want to be mean to Mr. Nyika. And I'm glad he's in good health and he was
Yeah.
able to get up from that big, long, prolonged sleep
Yep.
after he got laid out like an absolute pancake.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel, and not to sound too mean, if you're going to go into the ring with a ring name of the nice guy, you kind of deserve to get pancaked.
I
Just the way I feel. And I'm
don't know.
sorry if people are going to melt down over that. If
Yeah.
you're going in with your ring name as the nice guy,
Yeah.
don't be surprised if you get pancaked. And don't be
I
surprised if you
actually
get
think
no
he's a nice
sympathy
guy.
from
I
him.
really do. I saw him in the post match and I thought, you know what? He really is a nice guy. You know,
But you
like,
know what the old saying says? Nice guys finish last.
well, he did, but
He
he
did.
definitely is going home as a nice guy. And
He did.
so nice guy. What he won the third or second round, we thought.
Yeah, I believe he won the third when watching it. Now, for the record, the first two rounds were very hotly contested.
Yeah,
But for mine, Nyika threw a lot of punches. So did Jai Opetaia, but Jai Opetaia had the cleaner punches,
yep.
the more powerful punches. He picked his moments a bit nicer,
Yeah.
and he was a lot less sloppy with his work, which is
Oh,
always good
10
for
more
the
minutes.
judges
Russ.
when they're watching it.
10 more minutes.
Thank you very much. So for mine, Jai Opetaia always seemed in control of the situation and in control of the fight. I thought Nyika won the third round, but for mine, it was never going to matter who won the third round because this fight was never going to go the distance.
Yeah.
Because even by the fourth round, even Jai Opetaia, for as fit as he is, looked somewhat gassed,
Oh,
but
yeah.
not nearly as gassed as Nyika did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah,
it's throwing those haymakers, and Jaya got hit too. Make no mistake,
yes,
he got hit, but
he
you
did.
know he got hit. And there was great punches, but take us through the knockdowns. So it was two knockdowns in the fourth round. Take us through that, Drewy.
Yeah, so as I get into the fourth round, I'm just going to say for the record, the third round, I just felt that Nyika mainly won it on the form of trying to stay in the fight and trying to stay busy and trying to sort of grab something back into the fight, a bit of a foothold, whereas Opetaia sort of he was well in control, I felt, and it was more just a way of trying to get your way back into the fight. So I didn't bother Opetaia to maybe give away that third round. It was more scratched out rather than comprehensively won. In the fourth round, though, Opetaia came out with a lot of clean, thudding shots. He
Yeah,
kind of worked out the movements of
yeah,
Nyika by that stage.
yeah,
He worked out his game plan.
yeah,
He also worked out that Nyika was a lot more spent in the fourth round because he spent so much energy trying to eke out the third round.
yeah,
And from there, it was literally money for jam for
yeah,
Opetaia because Opetaia has a lot of experience. He was able to place his punches beautifully and basically seize upon all that long experience that he's got and the technical knowledge and ring IQ he's got. So the first round to answer your, so the first knockdown to answer your question was a
yeah. In the
big
fourth
booming
round.
right hook.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it was
fourth
huge.
round,
It was huge.
big booming right hook. They were both getting slightly tired, but you just
Yeah,
got the feeling that Opetaia by that stage was seeing his openings,
yeah,
whereas Nyika was more or less fighting to survive.
yeah,
And he had been stunned a few times by that stage early on in the fourth. And then a booming right hook
yeah,
from Jai Opetaia. Now, the second knockdown
yeah.
happened after Nyika rose.
That was it.
Nyika,
That was it.
Nyika was
Like that.
still kind of groggy
Yeah,
and still
yeah,
on sea legs, still
yeah,
like a bit of a drunken sailor. And I think sometimes the sign of a really good fighter is your finishing ability, the ability to finish off your opponent when they're not at their best or when they're hurt and when it's time to finish them off. And not everyone can do that for as easy as that might sound. Now, the second knockdown came when Jai Opetaia came through with a right hook, then a left cross
yeah,
and then followed the left cross up with a beautiful right hook. Now, the right hook then had Nyika's arm dangling on
yeah,
the rope because that right hook really dazed him
yeah,
badly.
yeah,
And that was the catalyst for
yeah,
the final punch, which was this great big booming left hook
yeah.
from Jai Opetaia. And with Nyika's arm lying there,
Like out of the ring, pretty much. Yeah,
out of the ring and dangling on the rope.
yeah.
His head was literally
Open.
sitting there
Yeah.
with like a giant, great big orange pumpkin ready to be absolutely smashed with a baseball bat. And that baseball bat came in the form of Jai Opetaia's booming left hook.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. He was lay out like a pancake.
Yeah.
No hot cocoa, no teddy bear, no pillow, just completely lay bare in front of everyone and literally asleep for, I would say, a good
Yeah.
minute and a half. I was actually getting a little bit concerned.
Yeah, people were concerned. Jai was concerned because there was no, when he knocked him out, there was
Yeah,
no huge celebration at all by his,
yeah,
like he walked away. You could see he was happy, but he was looking back every 10
yes,
seconds or so. He wanted
yeah,
nice guy to get up. We wanted nice guy to get up. And it was a bit concerning because we were like, oh, was that one punch too much? So I'm saying to you now, Drew, like, I know it's easy to say it wasn't one punch too much now, but
mm,
at that moment,
yeah.
you were like, geez, could that have just,
I
been,
don't believe it was. I
yeah,
don't believe it was one punch too much. It's easy for people to criticize and
yeah,
say his head was hanging there. Did you really need to throw the extra punch? But
yeah.
you've got to realize sometimes in boxing,
And it
if you
was
give
a bit of a combo too that he was kind of doing as well.
it
Like,
was,
you
and the
know,
referee hadn't stepped in. And
yeah.
to be
If
honest,
anyone made the wrong, if anyone made a mistake, it wasn't the
yes,
guy. It
yeah.
was the ref had every right to go in then.
It was his
And
positional play. The referee's positional play was bad because
yeah,
if he had been in the right spot,
because
he
he
could have
should have gone in
separated
then,
the both
you
of them
know.
and jumped in the middle.
Yep.
But his
He should have.
positional
But geez,
spot,
I felt very happy to see the
mm,
nice guy, get up and
yes,
and
yeah, yeah,
I saw him afterwards. Did you see the respect
yeah.
they had? They were, I respect you, bloody, it's all
He
like
came. He came into the
kumbaya.
change
Yeah.
room. They exchanged pleasantries. That's a
Yep.
great thing about fighting. You can
Yep.
beat 50 shades of shit out of each other for all fight, and then at the end you can be friends and have mutual
Yep.
respect for each other. But one
Yep.
thing I will quickly say about that, people who do have a problem with that punch,
Yeah.
I have a counter argument to that, and that is the fact that sometimes in fighting, if you give your opponent an even break and they clear their head and they get
Yeah.
back and win the fight, you're then kicking yourself going, why didn't I seize my opportunity?
Which
They
has happened.
also don't,
Which has
and
happened
which
before. Yeah.
plenty of times. And they
But
also don't have the luxury of sitting on a couch.
yeah.
All of this happens in split seconds.
Yeah.
We got the luxury of sitting on a couch and
We'd
seeing it in
replay.
a long time.
Yep. We'd
Yeah,
replay. Yeah.
and not even, but they don't get the luxury of that because they're
But
in there.
you
All the
know,
punches, the movements, everything's happening in split seconds.
but it is it's not black and white. It isn't black and
No,
white.
no.
There is times and has been times where
Mm,
boxers have realized that their opponent is gone. And I think it was Muhammad Ali, and he even gestured over to,
yeah,
this guy's gone. This guy's gone. What are you doing, ref?
yeah, yeah. It's happened plenty of times.
That's happened.
Happened plenty of times in
And
boxing where
and it,
actual fighters have signaled to the referee to stop it because the referee has sometimes been so incompetent
yeah,
that the fighters had to do their job and the referees.
but that wasn't this fight.
No, 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 that wasn't this time. It
Um,
was just a big area of like physical fighting, and it was just a moment that happened in the
yeah.
heat of battle. And I don't think there was anything wrong with it, and it just was what it was.
Okay, well, I actually just we've got 2 minutes.
Yeah,
The post-fight interview in the ring, I
mm,
didn't get to see. I saw the one
yeah,
in the
yeah,
where he sat down, which was really good. And the main thing that he
yeah.
got me watching that is how much Jai Opetaia loves Gosford, and how much they're saying, oh, do you want to go to Saudi Arabia or New York or where do you want to go? And he's like, Gosford, big Gosford,
Yeah.
Gosford, Gosford, Hall. Well, he's too
He
big for
could
that
do that
now.
at Blue Tongue Stadium.
Is he too big for Gosford? Like,
He probably is.
yeah,
Now, they he could have a throwaway
too
fight
big for Gosford.
a few years down the track.
Yeah,
Let's just try and
Yeah.
solidify the
Now's not
cruiserweight
the time
division
for Gosford,
first.
like
Yeah,
nothing against
look,
Gosford. Now's not the time.
I'm all for the tub thumping for Gosford.
Yeah.
Let's try that in 2029 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Another galaxy, another time. But right now, I think his main objective will be to unify the cruiserweight division, which would be awesome for Australian boxing,
1 minute.
and then move up to heavyweight, which
Yes.
would be huge. I'm really excited for Jai Opetaia. I'm
Yeah.
really excited for him carrying boxing to the world stage as
Yeah.
an Australian.
Well, we've been disappointed with Australian boxing last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
but do we have a good future ahead for 2025 and the red hot underdogs in boxing? I reckon so.
Let
Yeah.
me just say, as in Star Wars, when they go, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope for Australian boxing. Jai Opetaia, you're our only hope.
Is the only
Keep
hope?
going.
Is the only hope? That's true.
We
Help me,
hope one of you gets
you're
back.
my only
Yeah.
hope. That's what
Get well soon, Tim.
Leo says, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, all good.
Good episode, cuz.
Beautiful. Loved it. Thank you, everyone. Red Hot Underdogs.